Good afternoon. My name is Preet Bharara, and I am the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Today we announce criminal charges against 49 Russian nationals for engaging in a sophisticated healthcare fraud scheme that diverted Medicaid funds from needy families here in New York. As alleged, over the past 9 years, these defendants took advantage of their official government positions in the United States to defraud Medicaid and obtain hundreds of thousands of dollars in health care subsidies to which they were not entitled. 25 of the defendants are or were accredited diplomats, that is, individuals representing the Russian Federation in the United States at the Consulate General in New York, the Russian mission to the United Nations here, and the trade representation of the Russian Federation in the USA New York office. The remaining 24 defendants are the wives of these Russian diplomats. 11 of those 49 are still residing in the United States today. The 62-page complaint unsealed today describes a long-term, targeted fraud perpetrated by Russian diplomats and their spouses who were authorized to reside in the United States for diplomatic purposes only. Exploiting their positions here in New York, the defendants and others filed scores of fraudulent applications with Medicaid for benefits to cover expenses relating to prenatal care and childbirth. And before getting to some of the details of the charges and the charged defendants, let me introduce our law enforcement team. I am joined by our terrific partners from the FBI, Assistant Director in Charge George Venizelos, Special Agent in Charge William Priestap, and Assistant Special Agent in Charge George Ennis. I also want to express my appreciation, as always, to the career prosecutors who have conducted this investigation, including Rebecca Rosigliano, Ian McGinley, Shane Stansberry, Brendan McGuire, Chief of the Public Corruption Unit, and Michael Farbiars, Chief of the Terrorism and International Narcotics Trafficking Unit. Now let me just briefly get to some of the specifics of the allegations in today's complaint. First, as the complaint describes, Medicaid is a program primarily funded by the American taxpayer. It's a program that covers, among other things, the costs associated with the pregnancies, births, and first year of life medical needs of low-income individuals. Although it's largely federally funded, Medicaid is administered by New York State and the New York City Human Resources Administration. That's the administration, the agency charged with processing Medicaid applications in New York City's 5 boroughs. In New York State, pregnant women are afforded prenatal care immediately, pending a full Medicaid determination. To apply, they need to report any income they earn or their spouse earns. If their income level is at or below the Medicaid eligibility level for the reported household size, they are deemed eligible for Medicaid benefits. The very simple chart to my right describes some of the charges here. As I said, there are 49 defendants named in total in the complaint that was unsealed. 25 of them are accredited Russian diplomats, and the rest are their spouses. Among the various misrepresentations described in the complaint in order to receive Medicaid benefits to which they were allegedly unentitled were misrepresentations about income, falsely confirming income, misrepresentations about citizenship, and concealment of marriage. At the same time that all this was going on, under the guise of being needy families who were eligible for Medicaid benefits, all sorts of lavish spending was going on, as described in the complaint, including luxury vacations, concert tickets, a chartered helicopter, and clothes and shoes to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. By the way, as alleged in the complaint, the defendants did all of this, committed this fraud, while at the same time benefiting from subsidized housing and being exempt, given their diplomatic status, from federal taxation. Here are just a couple of examples drawn from the complaint, and I refer you to the rest of the complaint for the totality of the conduct charged. The first 2 defendants listed in the complaint failed to report any income at all in connection with trying to get Medicaid benefits. In another case described in the complaint, a former counselor at the mission and his wife collected almost $3,000 in Medicaid benefits by falsely claiming they made only $3,200 a month. In fact, the counselor, as alleged, was paid over $58,000 from only June to December of 2011 for an average of approximately $8,000 a month, or $5,000 more than reported to Medicaid. In another case, a former third secretary at the consulate and his wife applied for Medicaid benefits, claiming that the third secretary made only $21,000 a year in income total. But the year he applied for those Medicaid benefits, the third secretary and his wife made over $42,000 in credit card purchases, double his purported salary. And many other examples abound in the complaint. Because we have been advised that all of these defendants have diplomatic immunity due to the nature of their work for the Russian government, none of the defendants was arrested today pursuant to these charges. Diplomatic immunity, as you know, is a form of reciprocal legal immunity that prevents diplomats from being arrested under the host country's laws, unless that immunity is waived by the sending country. It is, however, the stated policy of the Department of State that it, quote, will request a waiver of immunity in every case in which the prosecutor advises that he or she would prosecute but for immunity, close quote. And that is the case here. And if there is no waiver with respect to a defendant, it is further the stated policy of the Department of State to, quote, require the departure of that individual from the United States, close quote. Now, one final point in this investigation. The investigation is ongoing. Any other country that has diplomats engaging in this kind of fraud should now be on notice that it will be exposed and the conduct will be charged criminally. It will not be tolerated. Diplomacy should be about extending hands, not picking pockets in the host country. Here, as alleged, a multitude of Russian diplomats and their spouses ran a scam on a healthcare system designed to help Americans in need. As the complaint alleges, the scam exploited a weakness in the Medicaid system, and the charges expose shameful and systemic corruption among Russian diplomats in New York. We in this office, along with our partners at the FBI, are dedicated to rooting out and punishing corruption and fraud in all of its forms, whether we find it in corporations, pension systems, our own government, or even in the embassies of other nations. Now, it's my honor to call up to the podium the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI here in New York, George Venizelos.
Thank you, Preet. Good afternoon. I just have a brief statement today. For the past year and a half, the FBI investigation has revealed the systematic, fraudulent submission of falsified applications for Medicaid benefits by 49 current and former Russian diplomats and their spouses between the years 2004 and 2013. These include claims associated with medical costs for pregnancy, childbirth, and doctor visits for the younger children of Russian diplomats and spouses. As a result of their falsified applications, the defendants obtained Medicaid benefits they were not entitled to. Diplomats who serve in the United States are representatives of their respective nations. Our relationships with foreign diplomats and diplomatic establishments is essential for cooperation on many issues. We value that daily cooperation with our foreign partners. With that said, being a diplomat does not give you the right to commit healthcare fraud. Some Russian officials based in New York allowed their employees to defraud the American taxpayer and take advantage of a healthcare program not designed for them. Each diplomat listed in the complaint submitted an employer verification form from the Russian government misstating their income in an effort to qualify for benefits. The New York State Medicaid program has paid approximately $1.5 million on fraudulent claims submitted by these defendants and dozens of co-conspirators not named as defendants. Our investigation also revealed that the defendants spent tens and thousands of dollars on luxury watches, jewelry, electronics, and vacations. The amount of money spent on these luxury items was inconsistent with the grossly underreported incomes claimed by the defendants on their Medicaid applications. We all feel the impact of healthcare fraud, which leads to higher healthcare costs and makes it difficult for those who truly need assistance to obtain coverage. The defendants selfishly took advantage of an American healthcare system designed to help those less fortunate. The unsealing of the complaint today highlights the criminal activities of these defendants and reminds the public that healthcare fraud remains an ongoing problem in our country. The FBI and our law enforcement partners are committed to preventing and prosecuting healthcare fraud cases at all levels. I would like to thank the United States Attorney's Office, Preet Bharara, and the dedicated prosecutors at the United States Attorney's Office for their joint efforts in this investigation. I would also like to acknowledge the efforts of our New York Counterintelligence Division and the commitment of the FBI case agents who worked tirelessly to bring this case to fruition. I want to thank you all today. Thank you.
Happy to take your questions. Ben.
The investigation is sent to Washington, Russian.
The allegations right now are individuals who are based in New York.
Can I just clarify something? You mentioned employer verification forms. Is that to say that there were Russian government officials that were complicit in this fraud, that they knew that there was?
Yeah, as set forth in the complaint, there were Russian officials in the local area in New York who put forward false certifications of income. Yeah.
How did this case come to light?
You know, we follow leads when they come to us, and that's all I can say about that. Yeah.
The complaint indicated there were cooperators involved in the investigation. Were they current or former diplomats, or can you discuss it all?
Yeah, I can't comment beyond what's already in the complaint. Yeah.
I don't understand. Diplomats usually, do they have their own coverage of medical expense?
Well, as set forth in the complaint alleges that the employers, whether it's a mission or otherwise, that they were working for, were responsible for their health care payments, which is why we allege this to be a fraud. Yeah.
Who was the highest ranking?
I think there was, there's a counselor, and then the counselor, yeah.
Were any of the people U.S. citizens?
No.
Has the request actually been submitted to have this complaint in the country, and has there been any response on that?
I don't know that that's happened. I would doubt it, since we just unsealed the complaint minutes ago.
Have the defendants been notified that we spoke to anybody?
Again, the complaint was literally unsealed minutes ago, and I don't know that notifications of particular defendants have been made. But the State Department is aware, and we've been coordinating with them.
So will you be seeking to have diplomats in any way?
That's not up to me. It's not up to the U.S. Attorney or the FBI. That's up to the State Department, and I recited what our understanding of the State Department's stated policy is, that in cases where we would prosecute but for immunity, they seek a waiver. And this is a case that I will say we would be prosecuting and making arrests in but for immunity.
Any other country, any other country involved in this?
I'm not going to comment on that other than to repeat what I said at the outset, which is if it is the case that other countries are engaging in this or thinking about engaging in it because they see a way to exploit Medicaid or some other welfare benefit, they should be on notice that we're paying attention and we're looking at it and we'll expose it.
Is there any allegation that this was done with the knowledge or tacit approval of the consulate or the UN mission, or that there was any kind of coordination among these?
Well, the allegations in the complaint are that it was done with the knowledge, some level of knowledge by some people in those places. So when you say was it done with the knowledge of everyone, that is not alleged. Last question.
Coordinated with the State Department, with the White House involved in this all, or how were concerns about relations between the U.S. and
We've had no communications with the White House. Great. Last question.
You mentioned that some of the defendants lavish spending. How did that come to light?
How did that come to light?
Yeah.
we have investigative tools, and we learned how they were spending their money. Great. Thanks very much, everybody.